Wait till I talk. Welcome, everyone. Here we go again with our series about diversifying accounting services. And we are privileged to have our expert with us live as always. Welcome, Peter.
Good morning, Priscilla. How are you?
I am very well.
That's good.
We are privileged to have you around. So let's see people joining us still, I think. And then, as always, we are privileged to have Peter with us in an exclusive interview. Our series are based on the white paper he issued a couple of weeks ago. And so you should have received it when you subscribed and when you joined us, you received the paper, so you can follow our discussion. And what we're going to talk about today, because we're offering 8 series on this lunch with Peter Towers, the advisory expert. I am Priscilla B. Smith from Cloud9 Associates, Senior Accountant Partner, and I'm privileged to have Peter with us for my 8 series of discussions. Peter Towers is the Managing Director of SB's Tools and our business advisory expert. So I hope you're enjoying what he has to share with us today. And session 3 starts now, and Peter is going to share with us his mission statement of building advisory tools for accountants. And let's see how he can talk to us about his passion about what he does. Peter.
Mission statement for building business advisory services. I think it's a very important role for accountants to be assisting SME clients to add value to their businesses. Unfortunately, the preparation of an annual set of accounts and a tax return in most cases is not adding value to an SME client's business. If anything's been proven over the last 20 months of this COVID-19 crisis in Australia, and probably the whole world, of course, is that businesses are looking for a lot of extra assistance. Now, this wasn't just assistance that they needed in the last 20 months. I think it's always been there, but the problems, the intensity brought it all to a head. There is now a great opportunity for accountants to continue to supply to many of their clients. It won't be all clients, but to many of your clients, a range of business advisory services to assist them to add value. And there's one other very important point for accountants. This will help you to have interesting, challenging work for your team members, because I know out there in the marketplace, many of you are having great difficulties in retaining your current accounting team and attracting new accountants. Give them some interesting, challenging work to do, and I think you'll find people wanting to stay with your firms and also others wanting to come and join you. So that's what I think of the mission statement, Priscilla.
Thanks, Peter. We can already sense your passion about taking care of tools for us. You build what we experience these days, a lifetime of your work. If you go to SB's Tools platform. Today, session 3 will cover accounting market pulse, which is another passionate subject of Peter. He's passionate about this diversification of services for accountants. How can accountants find points of difference in the market? He's going to discuss this subject, and how accountants can achieve expert status when delivering diversified services to clients. And we are following the white paper he released. So let's see what he can tell us about accounting market pulse and how he can see it. After he discusses Combank accounting market pulse paper, he's going to talk to us how he can see the market pulse from his point of view.
Thanks, Priscilla. I think the accountancy profession is indebted to the Commonwealth Bank, who have produced the Accounting Market Pulse report now for the last 6 years. Prior to that, various other organisations had been preparing periodic reviews on the accounting industry, people like CCH and MYOB in particular, Smith Inc. and Andrew Geddes and a few other people. But the Commonwealth Bank has been very consistent. They've now produced their reports on accounting. They also produce one on the legal profession every 12 months. The last report was brought down in May this year. So it was the height of the COVID problems. It was based on interviews that their consultant conducted with accountants of various sizes, large, medium, and small firms situated all over Australia. And they have formulated the conclusions that they obtained from those interviews into this very interesting report. If you're an accountant, bookkeeper, business advisor, or chief financial officer, and you haven't read Accounting Market Pulse, I would suggest that that's something you should be doing this week. Go onto the website and find it, www.accountingmarketpulse, and you will find it quite interesting because it gives an overview of what the issues are in the accounting industry, especially now as at long last we can, I think, see some daylight. The lockdowns are coming to an end. Even the Queensland government has now announced when the restrictions are going to be eased. And what we're waiting for now, of course, is Western Australia and South Australia and Tasmania to follow suit. And hopefully the Northern Territory won't be too far away either, so that the whole Australia can come back together and businesses can get back into business, employing people, generating activities, undertaking research and development, creating opportunities. There are tremendous opportunities out of all this for accountants to be in there with your clients, helping them to implement their vision, a vision that for a lot of them has been sitting silently for the last 20 months while they've been waiting for conditions to return to normal. So how do accountants need to understand and follow the Accounting Market Pulse? Priscilla, there's a couple of items I'd really like to emphasize, if I could, out of the report. Is that okay?
Please, Peter.
Okay, so the report on page 17, if anyone's got it, refers to firms poised to ramp up growth opportunities. And what this indicated that business advisory services was identified as the significant growth service line for the next 12 to 18 months by 81%, or received 81% of the support. So business advisory services is clearly the top activity that the collective firms, large, medium, and small, identified. There are other key growth areas also identified, including cybersecurity and technology consulting, risk management, property advisory, and there is tax consulting. But tax is a given as far as I'm concerned. It's always part of the accounting industry group of services. The other big matter that I think everyone should be thinking about is their chart on diversification. The chart indicates that only 5% of the firms that were interviewed for this report indicated they would not be diversifying services in the next 2 years. That means, of course, that 95% of the firms that were surveyed indicated that they would be diversifying services. I think this highlights the level of challenge that is there for any firm that might have an aspiration to be advising clients on a broader range of professional services than just annual accounts and taxation. This is the challenge you've got if you haven't got started already. And that is, how are you going to get into this marketplace? I think you need to be taking your steps now, not thinking about it, you're going to do it in 2022 or even the 22-23 fiscal year. The opportunity is now because the market is moving that way. Those of you who want to remain being a tax return specialist firm, that's your decision. I think you've potentially got some issues down the track. There will always be tax returns, but there's different market pressures coming to bear on that segment of the market. But for those of you who are interested in supplying business advisory services, please don't think about it much longer. Now is the time to take action and get started. Thanks, Priscilla.
Yes, so when I think about how we perceive it, accountants, how we perceive the market pulse and the urgency of it, it is a big wake-up call to all of us, Peter. It's a wake-up call because this is, as you said, the opportunity is now, and the market is dictating it to us. We have to diversify, otherwise we won't be able to float in this changing environment, and we won't be able to actually stand out for our services, because if you keep just following the tax compliance services, we will sink down on that path. In order to actually float it and come on the top, we will have to diversify services. And the wake-up call for us is now. And the way we've done it, we helped ourselves to expert tools. You are not all alone, because that's why we are here, to support you. And our expert is with us to actually offer his support to anyone who needs any help on this area. So when we talk about diversification of accounting services, you pointed out in your paper that we have to find points of difference in the market, and we have to make extraordinary efforts to actually find it and actually come on the top of it. So how can accountants find points of difference in the market, Peter?
Good question, Priscilla. About 30 years ago, at the University of New England in Armidale, I was attending a FMRC, Financial Management Research Centre seminar, which was organised by Andrew Geddes, who many of our accountant viewers know from some of our interviews with Andrew, of course, and they may have been participants in FMRC events or smithing events later on. And at that event 30 years ago, I came across a firm that was based in regional New South Wales that were experts in merino wool. They had established their accounting firm, which they called a business firm, business advisory firm, in a very strong wool growing area. And they had learned all that they could about it. They developed key performance indicators for that industry. They developed methodologies for preparation of financial accounts. They organised annual conferences. They then expanded their firm, and I've had great interest in following them over the years as they expanded into opening an office in another part of New South Wales, which was very close to the cotton growing areas. And they become cotton growing experts because they worked out the key performance indicators of cotton. And later on, they went somewhere else in New South Wales, which was a beef cattle area. And I've noticed that they now promote that area as they are experts in the beef cattle area. Now, quite frankly, Priscilla, any accounting firm can do this if you've got the willpower. You can become an expert by taking a closer interest in what your clients are doing. Now, I've been an accountant for a long time. And when I was in practice and clients were coming to see us, I think we only concentrated on the profit and loss account and the balance sheet. I rarely looked at key performance indicators other than gross profit percentage, wages to turnover percentage, and some of the balance sheet KPIs. But there is a lot more that goes on in a business. And that's where, if we're going to be really good advisors to help your clients add value, you need to dig down into how the business operates, to clearly understand what the key performance indicators are, how the teams are put together, how the business works. Do the foreman or whoever's receiving a daily key performance indicator report, do they understand what it means? Because part of my career I spent as the Chief Financial Officer, Company Secretary of a listed public company. And I found some of the reports that were being prepared at significant cost daily. The prime recipients, who were the foremen, didn't understand what the material meant. They just basically threw it away. So I sat down with them and we reworked it, put it into the language they understood. And they then become strong supporters. So I think that's the challenge that we have to do about diversifying services. You've got to spend some time in your client's factory, meatworks, which is the ones, I was in the meat industry, so I had to go and learn all about meat. I knew nothing, knew what a rump steak tasted like before I joined the meat industry. And you can delve into industries, and we've all got clients in various industries. Perhaps you need to pick a key industry that you've got a number of clients in, because what happens once the SMEs in that industry know that you have taken the time to gain an appreciation of how their industry operates. Perhaps you've presented some webinars, run some seminars, written some articles, had the courage to appear at one of their conferences and speak as an accounting expert on their industry, you will pick up additional clients. And today we have firms around Australia who are medical industry experts, who are pharmacy industry experts, who obviously are beef cattle experts, who are horticultural industry experts, who are tradie type business experts. So you can do that. So I think that's what your points of difference is. Now, you won't end up with 20 different industry caps, I don't think, unless you're a rather large firm. You might end up with half a dozen, but you, I think, will be quite amazed at the amount of clientele that you will develop because people in those industries will hear about you. So that's, I think, the points of difference, Priscilla. So Priscilla, what are the points of difference that you're offering in your firm? And what do you think the accounting services you're offering? And how did you find your points of difference that you could promote to the market?
Well, Peter, we had a good reflection of on the market pulse, you know, what market dictates these days. And so we picked up a point of differentiation in implementing innovation, offering package deals for our clients, meaning that we incorporated advisory services in the package, and we explain it to our clients that how important it is that they will sit with us and talk about their concerns, and then we offered planning, future planning for recovery and planning for the future, so we could inject a bit of optimism in these businesses who they've been a bit distressed. And so they found in us a stronghold and someone they can come to for advice, which they didn't believe that we will extend our services to that. In the moment we made them aware that we do, this is when they started to reach out to us. And we have really very happy clients thinking that, yes, we are all that for them, a trusted advisor. First of all, we run webinars, and even with you, Peter. During COVID, we had a series of webinars to make them aware that we are there. They can reach out to us, and just instead of them asking for help, we made ourselves available, so they knew what they're gonna get when we approach them next. So they've been prepared, and now they expect it from us. They will take nothing else from. And so in this moment, we are the pro advisors, and we believe that this is our point of differentiation. They will not leave us for another accountant who doesn't do what we already do. So innovation and differentiation and efficiencies. So they like it. This is the modern way of doing accounting in the future, Peter. And thanks to you that we've been with them all the way during COVID. If you look back of our recordings and everything, we encourage and support small business the best way we can.
Okay, thanks very much, Priscilla.
So about expert status, Peter, you talked about the expert status, how to achieve it by, just following what market dictates and stuff like that. But I believe that to become an expert, you actually need to use expert tools. As you said, you need to actually follow webinar, seminar, be on the top of the latest trends, listen to what others are doing and what the market dictates. And for us being an expert, it was like I am running expert webinars on different topics. And in that moment, while I'm doing those and while I'm doing the training and advanced skills for accountants, I'm also learning in the same time. So this is how to become an expert: learn and share your knowledge and stay on the top with the latest trends in the industry. What do you think, Peter?
Oh, yeah. In fact, that last point you mentioned, I think is very important. The delivery of business advisory services is not something that only the partners should be involved in. In fact, I think all of your accounting team who have expressed an interest in delivering business advisory services should be involved. And they should be encouraged to do the reading and do the practicing. Presenting papers at a conference is not easy for a lot of people. They get very nervous, but practice makes perfect. And there is one way to really learn a subject I've decided over the years, and that is to accept an invitation to make a presentation at a conference. You'll make sure you learn it then, because if you're going to go and sit or stand in front of 100 or 200 or 500 people, or even 10 people, your professional well-being will be you saying to you, you've got to understand this subject. You've got to appear to be confident. And to appear to be confident, you've got to have done the reading. And this helps you with this expert status. You don't wake up one morning and think yourself an expert. In lots of ways, I still don't think I'm an expert, although some people tell me I am in certain areas. But none of us will ever be an expert in everything. See me around a computer and you'll soon realize that that's not one of my areas of expertise. I use the things, but thankfully there's other people around me who can always sort them out when things go a little bit wrong. So the expert status is hard work. You have to clearly get involved in an industry, and your clients will appreciate that. And at times you've got to click off the meter and just sit down and talk to them. Within ESS BizTools, we have the SME needs analysis, which is based on one of the documents that Andrew Geddes produced probably nearly 40 years ago. And we've amended it with Andrew's approval. But it gives you some key points to sit down and have a cup of coffee with a client and communicate with them, have a conversation, listen to them. It's their business, they're the experts. In lots of ways, they don't realize that you want to talk to them about anything else other than tax. Now, tax is important, but it's primarily important from the client that they're not paying too much. They're paying what they're legally required to pay, but it's not helping them run their business. It's not helping them prepare projections as to what their business could look like in 3 to 5 years' time. It's not helping them to scale up their operations. That's where you've got to dig down into their business to get this knowledge so that you can be clearly helping them. I found when I got into the meat industry that the way I developed my skills in that industry, and I knew nothing about it, as I've already said, was around key performance indicators, calculating figures. Because in a business, whereas currently, as the accountant, you probably only look at most of your clients' figures once, twice, or maybe even 12 times per annum. But are you digging into those vital key performance indicators? Whereas when you're offering a chief financial officer service, you should be making sure systems have been set up for the daily key performance indicators. In fact, some businesses have got them coming out every hourly. They want to know how many customers have gone through the registers on every hour, because they're using that information to plan their staff manning. And they want to know what the average sales was. Some businesses, a lot of retail businesses, are recording that hourly and then daily figures. And it's the analysis of those figures that gives you the ammunition to help you to become an expert. Because your role is not to say to the boss, the owner, the managing director, oh, well, everything's as per average. What they're looking for is for you to identify variations, anomalies. The average sale is normally $19.20, and it's been that for weeks. If it's suddenly $11, alarm bells should be going off. I think that's the role. And it's then how you develop your expertise by helping the client's team dig down. Why did the sales drop to $11 yesterday when for months it's been $19? And sometimes you'll find there may have been a fraud. Sometimes you'll find there's been a recording issue, but at other times you might find that they've been gazumped by a competitor who's offered a better price to a similar item and the custom has moved. That's where you can add value, and that's how you become an expert. It's being able to evaluate these figures and give an expert opinion to your client. This is what I think went wrong. And Priscilla, I think that's the big issue here, is bringing your knowledge far beyond the profit and loss balance sheet and tax return into helping the client solve problems that have occurred this morning in their business for some of them.
Exactly.
So I'm going to ask you a question now.
Yes.
What do you think it's important to become the expert? Why?
Why do we want it to become the expert? Because only this way we're gonna hold on in the next 2 decades. Our practice wouldn't be able to survive, and we recognize this. It is interesting to say we recognize this just immediately after we started our practice 7 years ago. I said, how are we going to stay on the top of competition? How are we going to become an expert in stuff? And this is when I said we need expert tools. We need tools developed by experts so we don't have to waste our time developing those tools. Probably we could, but then I found the advisory expert tools, which helped us all the way. We had our eye on the ball since we started our practice 7 years ago. And with the help with expert tools developed by Peter, because he's talking about key performance indicators and all those formulas. Now, if you need if you take your time to develop those tools, it's going to take you decades. But those tools are available. We already helped ourselves to them that time, and this is how and why it's important. Well, try to stay mediocre in this kind of market pulsating around us. You cannot stay mediocre. You have to become an expert. And this is how you became an expert. I say when I present a paper which I downloaded from SBS tools, or when I present KPI calculations, a budget, anything which we can help ourselves from SBS tools platform, what Peter developed in a lifetime. So he actually perfected those tools for us. And it's easy because I look like the expert when I come up with a folder and I have all the answers. And I don't have to spend 2 years to come up with a report because it's all in there. You just fill in the details and you get the answer because Peter developed it for us. And we looked at his platform last session. He showed us a sneak peek of what is available. But when you look through this, what he can offer to you to start that diversification and to start with expert tools, not just trying the ocean with your finger. It is gonna help you. Actually, you're gonna be the expert, helping yourself to these calculators. Peter, you talked to us about this last week, but I'm telling you, it is actually what you need to become an expert, because this is how we did. We are not guessing here. We're helping ourselves to expert tools. What Peter developed for us, he took his whole lifetime and lately at the top of the all innovation. So all the tools are refined for today's market, Peter.
Yes, well, that's our list there. That's only part of the total products, of course. We've got over 30 different product packages. But, just looking at that, when you're looking at what people can do, those first three, tradies, charge out, retail pricing, which you could also add wholesale into there, retail, wholesale, and professional service firms. For most of the accountants out there servicing the SME market, on my observation, that's somewhere around 70 to 80% of your clients. How often do you sit down and talk to them about how they determine the amount that they're charging for their services? Or do you just accept the profit and loss account that either you've produced or they've produced on their computers? And this is what I'm getting out in delving into those figures. Do you ever go into it and say to the client, well, what are you charging per hour? And they say $110. And you say, okay, have you looked at a benchmarking comparison? And invariably you'll get, what's that? So you could go to benchmarking.com's reports, which are produced for about 260 different types of industries in Australia. And you might say to that client, well, you know, the average charge out rate in your industry is $190 and you're charging $110 or whatever the figures are. It immediately gives you that expert status because you're able to tell them what's happening in their wider industry. Now, some of your clients know that, and they're normally the guys in the top 5%. And every trade's got them. And there's a lot of millionaires who started off with tradie businesses. But there's also a lot of others who are in the middle or even in the bottom part of the equation, who really need your assistance. You're not going to give much help, I don't think, to the people in the top 5%, although some of them have probably already got accountants closely advising them. That's why they got there. But there is a lot of work can be done for tradies, for retailers and wholesalers and professional services firms. I got one of our accounting firm clients that tells me he's got 110 tradie clients that he uses our tradie charge out rate calculator with every year. And then he said to them all they had to be on monthly financial accounts, which he at least reviews. Some of them he's preparing in-house, others the client's doing it on Xero or whatever else, MYOB. But they're analysing them and they're having a monthly business review meeting. He's added around $650,000 to his income because he's supplying those extra services to those tradie businesses. Now he's thinking of moving it into the retailers and wholesalers that he's got because he's got the package. He can use it.
Exactly.
How many retailers and how many tradies and how many other professional service firms? Now, you could use the material for your own firm to start with. That's what I originally developed it for my own firm. But there's engineers, architects, town planners, quantity surveyors, all sorts of people out there running professional services who are basically charging their labour. So you can use the package for them. And that will help you develop greater knowledge. Then do the comparison to benchmarking.com. That's another subscription I think you should be paying each year. So you've got the benchmark figures. And that will help you become the expert because you're able to say to your client that's in an industry, this is what your peers are doing in your industry. Now I've already gone through this and looked at, and I've identified the areas where you do not line up. Now, in some areas, your client might be better, and that's great. Make sure they understand that because they want to be able to walk around with, their chests out and be very proud of themselves. But if there's some areas that they're below the average, that's your role. Talk to them. I think it's your role because it was definitely my role in a listed public company. I would have got the sack if I hadn't made sure the CEO knew wherever we were performing below industry average or below our own benchmarks. I think it's your role also. If we're going to be there as a crucial financial partner with our clients to help them run better businesses.
Exactly. And you can start with the special offer. Like you can start with some tools because in the moment you enter in that platform, you're going to realize that the price doesn't matter. You don't even think about the price. These are invaluable tools, resources for your practice to start to diversify your services. Just have a look. I'm saying the price is not indicative of the value you're getting with this. The value 10 times more, I don't know, is invaluable, I call it, because for us it is invaluable. And we never had to look any further. So I'm happy you developed this startup package for the ones whom they just want to start up diversifying services. It's very affordable when you look at the price, but it is invaluable in the moment you get to find them.
Priscilla, I just did a quick calculation then, which I hadn't done before. I should have done. I divided the $900 by 45 weeks, and that's only $20 a week.
Yeah,
Now, that is nothing in all. This is a starter pack. This will
yeah,
give you, and quite
yeah.
frankly, you should be able to get significantly more than $900 back. In fact, I'll be very disappointed if anyone tells me they never recovered their $900. I think in 3 months, not in 12 months. So it's the start. Now, later on, if someone comes to you and wants to talk to you about research and development, we have a package for research and development. It's our latest package. You can subscribe to that. You can add on. It's like a Meccano set. You can just keep on adding on. You might have someone come to you and ask you if you will be their chief financial officer, a virtual CFO. We've got a full package which covers everything that I can think of. And my colleagues, some of our affiliates, Andrew Geddes, who was chair of a listed public company that went from a one-person veterinary surgery 30 years ago to be a top 200 ASX company. Andrew's made his input as to the sort of information that he wanted to see the CFO of Green Cross be producing, so that he, as the chairman for 10 years, knew what was going on, and more particularly, so that he knew what the CEO was getting, so that he could monitor and have conversations with him to make sure he was getting the benefits out of all this financial data. So this is what you can do, and I hope you enjoy the journey.
Exactly, because it is fascinating. What we enjoying for 7 years now, since we digged into SB's tools, they are always developing. They are always up to date with the latest. And so the tools, just start with the start. That's fine. And then keep adding to it. As for $20 a week, I don't think that is just like a, not even a hamburger. You can buy a hamburger
Yeah,
for
that's right.
20
It's a
bucks
sandwich and maybe
sandwich and the
an
drink.
average cup of coffee.
Exactly. So lucky you started to, because I didn't think about it like this, but I try to prompt the audience. Don't think about the price. The resources are invaluable, and you will never look back, and you'll be jumping for joy that you didn't have to spend time to develop them yourself. Think about it. It would take you a decade. From my point of view, the way I looked at it, it's gonna take us a decade to develop some, but these are, how can I say, as you said, just the tip of the iceberg, because there are thousands of resources there for you on any topic, on every subject. And Peter demonstrated this to us last week. And on the last session, on the session number 8, I will dig into it and demonstrate it to you again to see what else you can find in there and how. But I'm saying price is not indicative of the value you're gonna get. So everybody who joined us, they will receive these slides, and these slides, if you would like to reach out to us, these slides do have the hyperlink behind it where you can actually book a meeting with Peter. He's generous with his time. He's happy to talk to you about things. And same with me, you can book a 30 minutes free consultation about the product, about anything else, how we did it, and how did we manage to actually come on the top of the game, which is going on these days. Diversifying accounting services. You have to do it, and you have to start today. And help is available. You can. This is where you can find us, and we're repeating this in every session. And we want to remind you that we will be back on the 2nd of November, um, following the white paper, which you're already familiar with. And we'll talk about next time about moral issues accountants face with whilst striving for diversification. Peter has a few tips and tricks for us. We've been under pressure during COVID, and we had to find strength and the inside resources to actually keep going and keep the faith in our while we've been strengthening our resources. to start to keep the faith in our business owners and other clients, all the clients, because who else was the, so we had to brace and stay strong for them, for us to become the stronghold what they need. And so we will talk about these resources, how we can do it, how we can actually support our clients morally, and with developing our communication skills in an efficient way, so they will stop and listen to us, and they will listen to our advice. So this is what we're going to talk about next time. Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting discussion next time, Priscilla, on the 2nd of November.
Exactly.
And I look forward to anyone that wants to talk to me. Please contact me, and we'll have a Zoom meeting, and I will give you my diagnosis and what I think is the type of strategy that you could implement. You might already be started on business advisory services and found you're not going fast enough, or you're thinking about getting into it. Don't be worried about that. Everyone's got to start from somewhere, and you've now got this great opportunity. But I think you need to be doing it now, so you're going to hit 2022 running, not just thinking about it.
So enjoy the series. We'll be back on 2nd of November, and we'll thank you all for your attendance today. I hope you enjoyed the session, and we'll be back, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Peter, for your
Thank you very much, Priscilla, for inviting me to be with you and your viewers today. I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you on the 2nd of November.
We did enjoy it, and we appreciate your generosity of time and resources for us. Thanks, Peter, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.